Hello, my loves. Good morning for most of you, and welcome to today's episode of the topic of somatics, which is one that excites me personally so much. As you know, I've been practicing yoga for half my life. I've been working with diet. I've been working with body work, massage, all the different modalities, done so many trainings on that, and I'm still going deeper and I'm still continuing to learn on this path. And somatics and the relation to our subconscious and to our energy and all of that is really, really fascinating. And I want to give you a good insight on that today. So we start with a quote by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm sure you're all aware of him, who he is. And he says the body is the subconscious. And I want to explain to you today why that is so. So, we will be talking a bit about the physical body, the trauma in the body, tissues, nervous system, fascia, organs, brain, all of it, and how it all plays together um, to create this whole thing and how energy plays into that. We will be creating a base, a foundation today to go further into the topics later on. To understand what is happening in our system on this journey means that we have to understand the way everything is interrelated in order to have the energy running safely through our system and fluidly. So we need to prepare for it. And as always, trust the process. Body over mind. So in the West, we had a very, very, very mind-focused approach with everything, psychology, with education, whatever. Like it was always, oh, we have to get things into the mind, we have to work with the mind. And we want to believe that our mind controls everything, but I will tell you a different truth now. In reality, 80% of all information travels up the spinal cord from the body to the mind and not the other way around. So, what this means is that we have afferent and efferent neurons traveling up and down the spinal cord autonomic nervous system. 80% are going up. So, even if we think that our mind is always giving all the impulses, blah blah blah, it's way more that we are taking in and are taking in from the outer world to then digest, and then 20% of impulses are coming out of that again. But really, our body is constantly reacting to our environment. So, our body is controlling our thinking also way, way more than we might be aware of. And whatever memory our subconscious is programmed with and directing our ego from, either from this life or from past lives, generational trauma, whatever, is because it is stored somewhere in your physical system on an energetic level as well. But today we will be exploring the physical level of that. The Kundalini energy that we are working with is gradually releasing those memories and blockages stored within your physical system. This is the process. All the trauma healing work, shadow work, etc., is in the end Kundalini work because it brings the subconscious up in order to be transmuted and releases the energetical blockage from our system. Amazing, isn't it? Okay, so there is this model of layers of our body. We have gone into it very shortly in the first week, the koshas, right? So we have those different layers of our body. And again, the physical layer is just one of them, but everything is connected very deeply. And I don't want to say like it's all completely interwoven. I don't even want to say which layer is above which one. But if you work on one, which in our case today is we're looking at the physical layer, it will affect every other layer. Means the mental, the emotional, the energetical, the astral, all of that. We are creating ripple effects back and forth, up and down, however you want to call it. But we are always working on all of the layers through one. So the physical body itself, what is it consisting of? It's matter, it's energy that has become matter. And it consists of our skin, of organs, of tissue, of muscles, of the nervous system, of tendons, ligaments, whatever, right? It consists of so many things, and we are looking at a few today because all are affected by this energy. And you will see with time, you will see your body transform a lot, really. Mine has transformed a lot, and I am still growing younger and younger. And I'm 35 next week, and I think I've never looked better, to be honest. Let's start with our nervous system. Our nervous system is probably the biggest part in this, right? The nervous system is what is transporting energy throughout the body on a very obvious level with neurotransmitters and so on. So our nervous system is our control center within the physical body and allows us to experience the environment. It consists of three main parts: the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, and the peripheral consists of the somatic and the autonomic. So the autonomic nervous system regulates involuntary physiological processes, including the heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, digestion, sexual arousal, the transmutation of glycogen, and so on. It contains the three distinct divisions: the sympathetic, the parasympathetic, and the enteric. This autonomic nervous system is the main part of what we are going to look today. We have talked about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic before. We are going into that one more time now. So the sympathetic nervous system is active when we are in a fight, flight, freeze response. Overall activity and attention is being unlocked, or we are in this alert state, is what I want to say. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Fawn would be dissociation. Freeze would be, freeze is obvious. Fight, flight, I'm sure you are aware of that too. So fawn is when we are actually kind of like leaving the body. We are not present anymore at all. It's a rather new response that has been added this maybe like 10, 15 years ago, I don't know. So in this process, when the fight, flight, freeze system is active because we are experiencing some kind of danger, or it might not be present in the outer world at all, so we are perceiving some kind of danger, as we are not running away from tigers a lot these days. The fight, flight, freeze becomes active in other situations, like our boss is like talking to us or yelling at us, I don't know, or our partner is whatsoever, right? It's like minor things that are happening in our day-to-day life that can bring this up already, the fight, flight, freeze response. And as we are in such a high output world, living in this modern world where we have to put out stuff all the time, everything can be perceived as a threat or a danger. And in this process, the heart rate and the blood pressure do increase. The glycogenolysis ensues, the gastrointestinal peristalsis ceases, that means our digestion process will go down, our blood sugar will go, our the sugar glycosis will not be digested as good anymore, and so on. So the sympathetic nervous system really ensures every part of our body, and this means it really acts on every part of our body. Stress on every part of our body. Okay. In opposed to that is this parasympathetic nervous system. This is our rest and digest mode. So here the heart rate slows down, the blood pressure slows down. We can digest again properly. Glucosis is being, I don't know, transformed properly. There is a word, but I'm not sure. So it's really whenever we are in complete calm and can relax, then the parasympathetic nervous system should be on. Due to trauma responses, for example, it can be that it never gets properly active, and we are working on that here. Okay, so with our daily practices, we are working to activate this parasympathetic nervous system a lot. This is why I really, really need and urge you to do the daily practices and do some yoga as well, which we will go into later on, but I've already sent you the PDF, and yoga is the most efficient way to work with our nervous system. The vagus nerve, what we want to activate is the vagus nerve, and this is the biggest part of our parasympathetic nervous system. So unlike the sympathetic nervous system going through the whole body, every part, the parasympathetic nervous system, which is mostly the vagus nerve, or it's the strongest part of it, mostly goes through our torso. So it starts somewhere here, getting out of the brain stem, and goes down here, the neck, and then it divides everywhere. And maybe you just want to do this with me one time now. Take your fingers and go back to your brain stem here and just slide down around your neck. Can you feel this juicy feeling? This is already activating the vagus nerve. So it extends from brain stems into the heart, lungs, gut, and everything, almost everything connected in the trunk, especially all the organs. If activated, then it will send signals to the brain and to every part of the body that we are in a rest and digest mode, that we can pick up all the physical functions again. We can do this, we can enhance this with many different practices, such as tapping, shaking, stretching, yoga again, and gentle activation of the nerve ends. So we will go into that later on. If it is activated, our system is calm enough to let go of holdings, and then trauma can come up. So this is why I have received messages, wow, I go into meditation and then I feel worse. Yes, because finally the trauma can come up. Finally, there is space for it to be released. So working with your body and somatics, going into massages, all of that are ways to soften, to literally soften you, be in your feminine, so that then the energy can start moving. Yeah, and yoga and other practices have been aware of that for very long. Just Western science was very blindfolded and is now researching all the benefits, of course. But yoga has always been aware as like this calm practice where you work with your breath, where you activate the parasympathetic nervous system so that energy can start moving. And again, we have talked about this before, but what do we need in Kundalini activation so that the Kundalini can rise? We need to have the balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. That would be an activation, a full activation of the autonomic nervous system, which is called in yogic science Sushumna Nadi. Okay, so there is Ida, Pingala, Ida being the left side, Pingala being the right side, female, male, and then there is Sushumna in the central spine, which relates again to the nervous system very strongly. Okay, so what we need in a Kundalini activation, or what is happening, it is the central nerve, the central spinal nerve, autonomic nervous system is being activated as the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system are in balance. Okay, this is happening in a few rare cases, like in plant medicine journeys as well. Whenever we work with psychedelics, this is happening when we dream, when we have sexual arousal, sensual arousal, let's say. It doesn't always have to be sex necessarily, but just like this kind of like juicy feeling just from touching yourself wherever. This is already this state where we are in somehow a high alert, but there is this deep relaxation, right? This is the state of being we need for the Kundalini energy to be active. So when this is happening through the reset of this, or through constant activation of that, of the strengthening of this autonomic nervous system, of this central nerve, central nadi. Nadi is the Sanskrit word for energy channel, by the way. We will go into that. Through the activation of that, a rewiring, a profound rewiring of your nervous system, and thus your brain is happening over time through continuous exposure. So this means first all the shit comes up. This is the physical explanation here. First, all the shit comes up because your system is relaxed enough, and then it will just grow stronger and stronger. Yes. Old trauma-informed patterns can be cleared out of your system with time through this. What does it mean? What means trauma in the body? So there is a saying called "the issue is in the tissue," which is rather new. Who said it again? I'm not sure. I think it might be Bessel van der Kolk or someone else. Anyway, so when trauma occurs, our bodies activate a protective mechanism. So imagine you are in a kind of situation where you're being threatened. What will your body do? Yes, either run, or it will freeze, or it will start to fight. So anyhow, a lot of energy is being activated, which shows in the form of hormones also, right? Like cortisol, adrenaline. This cortisol and adrenaline will flood your body. If you want to run, then it will go to your hips. It will go to your hip flexors because this is where it needs to activate the energy to make your legs run as fast as they can. If you're going into fight, it will be here, right? If you want to punch someone, then this is where you need the energy. If you're going into freeze, your body might shut down like this and go into holding itself, protecting itself. If you're going into fawn, usually the muscles get very soft and there is no sign of aliveness anymore there. But in the first three, the adrenaline being pushed out and being released into the system, if it is not used, go again to this office situation. You're sitting in your office and you're like, actually, I want to run, but I can't. So all of this energy can be stored there, as well as the hormones can actually be stored in your tissue. Tissue meaning muscles and fascia. Okay. So this adrenaline or cortisol being stored in the fascia can with time make the fascia gooey or gluey, like it sticks together. And if it sticks together over a longer time, we have a problem. And I will go into that in a bit. But this is how the body actually stores trauma. A lot can be stored. I will go into this later. But this is how the body literally stores trauma on a physical level. On an energetic level as well, it can stay in different parts of your body, but we will go into that later. So, there was a very famous book, I've just said his name, is called Body Keeps the Score from Bessel van der Kolk. Bessel van der Kolk was well, actually, there are two people, yeah. Bessel van der Kolk and Peter Levin. Both have really transformed psychotherapy as they have brought in this somatic approach. They have said, hey, there is also something else, it's not only the mind that is involved in trauma, and especially not only the brain, but the whole system. So this book, Bessel van der Kolk, I will put it up into our Thrive Card platform, so you can all read it if you are interested. It's like it's foundational work. If you are working in this field anyhow, I'm sure you've come across it. If you're interested, please read it. So they were both researching the effects of post-traumatic stress on the body and showing how it manifested, as well as methods to release it. Peter Levin, for example, he was the first one that would find out that the body releases trauma by shaking. Ugh, fast shaking. So this plays into that. It's like energy, or because it's stored in the fascia. He would observe animals. So let's go into this. Imagine National Geographic or a Universum episode where a lion is chasing some antelopes. Imagine, right? Big herd of antelopes, and the lion goes and chases. So what he does is he chases 2 or 3 of these animals out of the herd. He doesn't chase the whole herd, he divides them. And then he chases those. And the one that is maybe the most slow, maybe it's old and sick, or the one that falls, he catches that one. The others have escaped, but they have still been in the same threat of life. They have been threatened for their lives. So imagine what all has been activated. What they do now is very magical and is something that we must learn from. They will jump and shake. They shake like this. Maybe you have it in your mind. You've seen it somewhere when you were younger. I do remember those pictures. They shake in the air, like they jump up and very quickly. So what they are doing is they are releasing the trauma, and now wait for it, before they are coming back to their herd, to their family, to not bring it there. Very, very profound, beautiful, isn't it? I love this. So yes, shaking has been or has become a very, very accepted method in somatic trauma release. And yeah, there is what is it called? Somatic, I don't know, but there is his own method that he somatic experiencing. Somatic experiencing is the method that he has founded. Peter Levin and lots of psychotherapists work with it these days, and it's amazing. Okay, Mm, Bessel van der Kolk also says in his book that yoga, a regular yoga practice, has better effects on people than those who take pharmaceutical medication on any kind of trauma. I will take a little stop here. Yeah, I just realized I had my old show notes. Um, Going back a bit because I wanna bring that in before it doesn't fit anymore to the nervous system and to the spinal cord. So I have given you pictures in the PDF in your notes of the spinal cord and how every vertebra is actually related to a different function within the body, to a different organ. So this is super, super interesting that as the Kundalini energy rises up and down the spine, this is how it influences the whole system. You will have a closer look, but I love looking at this. It's really fascinating. Let's go to the topic of the fascia now again. So I want to show you two pictures actually. The fascia, as I said, it can stick together, and this can be a fascial dysfunction when it's not working properly anymore. So you see fascial dysfunction on this side and restored fascia. So what we can do to get this out of our body is to do massages, to do yoga, and all of this to stress the fascia. Stressing means like pressing it, for example, or stretching it so that it gets really contracted, and then all the fluids, all the energy, all the oxygen and so on can go back into it. And with time, we can release it. Why is this so important? Again, because nerves are going through that area of our body. Nerves and also arteries and stuff, and the lymphatic system as well. So everything can be contracted. I have another picture here for you. What is the fascia? I hope that's clear. I did not explain it now. The fascia is what connects the muscles and the skin, for example. The fascia is what holds the organs in place. The fascia is really between everything, like our ligaments, our tendons, connecting that with muscles and skin and bones. So the fascia is really in every part of our body. The most fascia we have, and you might not seem like very clear, but it's actually in our tummy area. Why? Because it needs to hold all the organs in place. Otherwise, they would all sink down. So working with your tummy, with your belly, with belly massages is a very, very strong tool to release trauma, stress, and blockages from your system. Let's go into the topic of neurotransmitters. What are neurotransmitters? They are chemical messengers to transport information from one nerve cell to another. So these neurotransmitters are something that we need to work with, as in diet, as in energy from sunlight, and so on. All of this builds neurotransmitters. So this is what builds prana on a physical level. All of what we are doing is to expand our capacity in the body to hold energy and to have this energy flow fluid. Again, then, the nervous system is controlling the hormonal system. You're all aware that the hormones are very, very powerful in everything. Endocrine glands, the nervous system controls the endocrine glands. So endocrine glands are the ones that produce hormones. So they are a special group of cells and they make hormones. The major endocrine gland is the pituitary gland, which controls all the other ones. We will go into that. And but there are also the pineal gland, the thymus gland, the adrenal glands, and the pancreas. You will see later on next week, this is all related to the chakras again. The hormones are those chemical messengers that travel in your bloodstream to tissues and organs. They work slowly and over time, but they are really working on a lot of functions, such as growth and development, metabolism, sexual function, reproduction, and your mood. There are hormones which we want to release more and more from the system. As I just said, we are working on this in working with the tissue, with the fascia, cortisol and adrenaline. Cortisol and adrenaline by our adrenal glands is regulated by the pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland in the center of our brain, related to the crown chakra, is sending out the message to the adrenal gland, which are like on our kidneys, on top of the kidneys, and then telling the kidneys, hey, you should send out this adrenaline and cortisol, these stress hormones, to get into a certain action. They are being produced for example, also just when you wake up or before we wake up, the cortisol level rises. If you have any kind of sleeping problems, it might be related to that, but also to the pineal gland, which is related to melatonin production. Yes, so this is how we also work with the hormonal system through working with our energy. This Going back again, adrenaline and cortisol being overloaded in the system, they are being stored in the fascia. If not, if they are being metabolized correctly, they are being metabolized by the liver. So even if we release it later on from the tissue, it is being metabolized by the liver. So this is another reason why a healthy, clean diet is super important. An overburdened liver by too much fat or protein cannot metabolize that. So the adrenaline and cortisol will stay in your system. Okay? This means we have to always flush the liver with like this morning routine of lemon water, of celery juice, of green juices, any kind of fruits. This is flushing the liver and is flushing out those toxins because adrenaline and cortisol are being handled by the body as toxins. Also, as you might be aware from traditional Chinese medicine, for example, the organs are related to emotions. So what do we have? What kind of emotions do we have related to different organs? Let's stay with the liver. The liver, anger. So all this built up energy is being stored in the liver if it cannot digest it properly. If we work with our liver, if we keep our body healthy and clean, we will release anger from our system. What about other organs? For example, the lungs. Shallow breathing, curving our rib cage, protecting the heart and lungs, grief and sadness. Again, the kidneys, where the adrenal glands are storing fear. So whenever we are fearful, they are being like, okay, you have to work, we have to send out this adrenaline and cortisol, stress. They say the gut is also related to melancholy, is when it's not producing, when there are not enough happy hormones being produced, as they are being produced in the gut as well. Not speaking up, shyness, throat, if we have some blockages there, and so on. The heart, of course, again, like protecting the heart, the body forms this kind of like round shoulders. So with yoga, we open it up again and again, and thus we open up our heart, and thus we work with our thyroid gland. Thymus, thymus gland, sorry, thyroid's here. Thymus gland. The thymus gland is so interesting. It can grow and shrink according to how we feel, related to the heart chakra. Then I want to go very shortly into the topic of brainwaves because it's very complex. I have been researching yesterday again about different brainwaves being activated in different kinds of states of being, especially like the psychedelic journeys, because this relates the most to what is happening in the Kundalini activations. So I take references from there. I researched papers where they researched what is happening in the brain on a different kind of influence of, for example, DMT. Our conscious active brain is being dominated by highly active beta and gamma waves. When we are relaxed but not asleep, alpha waves, alpha brain waves are predominant. As we become drowsy and fall asleep, theta and delta waves become more active. So our brain waves are really in response to what is happening in the environment and also what is happening within us. When speaking of DMT-induced experiences, DMT being produced by our pineal gland, which is responsible for melatonin production, and the DMT that our body produces, our body produces its own psychedelic. We will go into that later on. This is what is giving me reference what could happen in Kundalini activations. And honestly, there is a friend here who has access to someone who can measure brain waves, and I cannot wait to work with that in Kundalini activations. This is my dream unfolding in the next months. So I want to do research on it myself. Yes, so what is happening? It's jumping from a lot of brain waves, like from this half asleep, drowsy kind of state of being into a very highly active gamma, like the highest activity of the brain. And certain brain waves can be active in certain parts of the brain at the same time. What is significant though, what has been measured is that the beta, this stable alert, I am in my environment, I am in observing environment, this is going down. That's happening for sure. But I have put an overview of those brainwaves also into the PDF that you will get. This is it for today. This was a lot of information. Please go through the PDF that I will send you because, yes, it's not so easily digestible, maybe for some of you who have not been in this topic before. But what I really, really want to emphasize on is to read The Magic of Yoga, the little booklet that I've wrote, because this is way more accessible and is making you understand on a very way easier level what is happening in our physical body. And yoga being the preparation for the Kundalini ascension, it is that intertwined. So, yes, I am excited for all of your questions as well. I am not physical medical doctor, but I have gone into many, many different aspects of it with all my trainings that I've done. And I hope I can answer all of your questions with it. Um, Yes, but it's just so you understand what is happening with us, what is happening in our physical body, and how can we support our body at the best on this journey. And thank you all so much, and I love you all so much, and I'll see you very, very soon.